becoming an official is kind of funny. I think a little way. I kind of stumbled upon it a little bit, but loved basketball. And now once you told me that I could now be the guardian of the game. I call it in sense, you're that guardian. You're that person that's going to make sure that this game is ran the way it should be. Came up with basic referee school ground floor, meaning at the ground floor, trying to work your way up. And that's more so geared toward high school officials. But pretty much I'm using ground floor. It's fostering and developing the growth of basketball officials at every level through their journey.
And now, episode 2, letter B, Becoming. Join hosts Dana Pappas and Nate Acosta with special guest Violet Palmer on the From A to Zebra podcast.
Welcome back to the From A to Zebra podcast. I'm Dana Pappas here with my co-host Nate Acosta as we continue our journey through officiating. This week we have another officiating legend here to take you through our next letter.
This week we are on to the letter B, and we are going to talk about becoming, the process of becoming an official, becoming a crew chief, becoming an official at the next level, becoming a leader, and in the case of this week, becoming a trailblazer, a barrier breaker.
She is all of those things. As we mentioned last week, and we'll continue to mention every week, the purpose of this podcast is to educate, elevate, and excite. We want to educate individuals who are not involved with officiating. We want to elevate the avocation and profession of officiating. We want to excite current officials and potential officials about this unique and beautiful family that exists among the officiating community. We're not only teaching people about all of those things, but we're really offering a behind-the-scenes glimpse of officiating outside of the X's and O's.
So it's my honor to introduce our guest speaker for today, an officiating legend, my boss, Violet Palmer. Violet is the first female official to reach the highest competitive tier in any major U.S. professional sports league. Violet began working the NBA in 1997, working her first game on October 31st of that year between Vancouver and Dallas. She worked 919 games in the NBA during her career and was the first female to work an all-star game in any of the 4 professional sports in 2014. She retired in 2016. She currently is the coordinator of women's basketball for the Big Sky, Big West, Mountain West, Western Athletic Conference, and the West Coast Conference.
That's a lot. No wonder we have you on here, Violet. My goodness, you've got the whole Western United States just on lock. I love it. We want to welcome you, Violet, to the From A to Zebra podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, I have to say, I want to thank both of you. Of course, both of you are 2 of my favorites. And I can honestly say that I think for both of you who know me, I love anything about officiating at any point in time. So having an opportunity to talk about officiating, talk about what I've done, if I could motivate or excite or bring about any type of new referee into joining this crazy field that we're all a part of, I'm always happy in game.
Well, we appreciate that. And we know you love to talk officiating, and we love to hear you talk it. So we're going to jump right in. And we chose the word becoming for the letter B because we really wanted to talk about that process of getting involved in officiating and then developing from there. So Violet, can you tell us a little bit about your process of becoming, how you became an official, then a crew chief, and now a supervisor?
It's interesting. My story in becoming an official is kind of funny. I think a little way. I kind of stumbled upon it a little bit, but obviously in college I was a recreation administration major, and I took a couple of courses, intramurals. I had to take an officiating course, but these were all courses that I actually took for my degree. I obviously being an ex-player, I used to scorekeep for adult basketball leagues. And obviously, when you're doing that, it's about keeping your games on time. They're every hour. So it's, a referee doesn't show. So what? You go in the office, you grab the shirt, you put it on because it's about keeping the games on time. So obviously, one night, one of my referees didn't show. I went, grabbed the shirt, I put it on because we got to go. And with no training other than the few classes that I had taken in school, I started the game with my other partner. And unbeknownst to me, the director who assigned all the referees, because I had to call him to tell him, hey, man, my referee's not here. I need some help. He shows up and he stands at the door and he's watching me. And I got my game going. He another referee showed up for the next game, so I was able to take the shirt off, go back and scorekeep. But when the night was over, he came over and he said, Violet, he goes, have you ever thought about refereeing? I go, no, I'm still playing. I got a lot going on. I'm still in school. Not really something that I've really looked into. He said, you know what? I think you're kind of a natural. You have a good knack for it. You should try it. I'm like, maybe in the future, but not right now. So again, moving forward, I graduated. I tried a little coaching. I was a high school basketball coach. I did that for a year or two. And then, Coach May, I had the honor of going back being a grad assistant. So I tried coaching there. And then I had kind of a change in career. I moved back to Los Angeles. And that's where I joined my local high school association, and I can tell you, as soon as I walked into my first high school meeting, my eyes just lit up and I was excited. And I was like, oh my God, I think I found something. Not knowing what the something was, but I knew that it was just exciting. It was great. It was great to get the rule books. It was great to just hear all the officiating stories. It was great to get the uniform. And I was like, oh, wow. So, of course, getting my high school schedule, literally, as soon as I walked on that floor with my uniform, I was like, I found my home. It was exciting. I was enthusiastic. I just wanted to learn. I wanted to referee, and I refereed everywhere in LA. I didn't care where the games were. I didn't care what level. It didn't matter to me. I just loved it. And obviously, I worked my way up, got to college, went to camps like all the officials do today, and got hired in all the Division Ones and just did very, very well, but found my passion. And obviously, for me, being able to referee on every single level, and I think having those opportunities, I just took advantage of every single level that I've worked. And I think for me, that has really helped me with being even a supervisor. It helped me getting to the NBA because every challenge is different. And for me, I just took every single opportunity, every challenge, and gave it 150%. And, not knowing how your career is going to turn about or how it's going to go, and just did well at every single level, did well at the high school level, got to high school, went to college level, did well, worked Final Fours, worked championship games, got to the NBA, made it through, which was a very, very tough and difficult time in my career, but still difficult in some ways, but not difficult totally because, again, I progressed, I learned, I took every challenge, I took every obstacle, and I just made it like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care how difficult it is. I don't care how complicated it is because I've really just loved officiating. I loved everything about it. And that was just kind of my way of getting through all the stuff. And I've had a lot of stuff in my career. We could have a whole session on stuff because
the letter S, we've got another show.
God, yes, because I have gone through every single thing you can think of, every single level, which I think has kind of groomed me to the position that I have now. Because one thing that I've learned over just my entire career, that going through different obstacles, having different levels, having different supervisors, there were so many things that I've learned, so many good things, so many not so good things that I said that, once I become a supervisor, And once I become a leader, these are things that I don't want my referees to go through. I don't want them to have to worry about these things. And I think for me, creating that family atmosphere with my referees, creating mentorship, being supportive. I think for me, with everything that I've learned, now I'm having an opportunity as a leader and a mentor and a supervisor to now just bring all of that to my referees and just give it back, just pay it forward. So in a nutshell, that's kind of my start. I think you mentioned being a crew chief and being a leader. That comes with work. That comes with just gaining your experience, just getting your reps, just growing as an official. And I'm sure more we get into the podcast, we'll talk about that as well. But most what's interesting is, and I say this, most referees, we all think we're better than what we are. And we don't want to really do the work, because that's what you have to do to be successful as a referee, because you're going to have obstacles, you're going to have disappointments, and with all of that comes growth. It just helps you. You're able to manage those difficult situations, because that's how you grow, that's how you learn. The ones that can learn from those mistakes, the ones that can learn from their mentors, the ones that can take the constructive criticism from their mentors, from their supervisors, are the ones that are able to survive and be successful and be leaders. Most people think it's really easy to go out and be a crew chief. And every referee, and they can attest to this, I tell them, I go, be careful what you wish for, because you get out there and you want to be the crew chief and you want to be the leader of your crew, and all hell goes crazy. And it's like, oh my God, I really wasn't prepared for this. I didn't think this is what was going to happen in my game. But now you're in it, and you have to make the decisions to make sure that your game is good, your crew is good, coaches are good, and it's tough, and you have to take all those experiences and learn from them and grow from them to just do the best job you possibly can do. But you got to be able to admit when you made your mistakes. You got to be able to sit back and learn from it and grow from it, because those are the officials that remain successful. Those are the ones that continue to be successful in this craft of officiating.
I can actually vouch for that, and I'll tell a little story. I'm working at, I won't name the school or the coach, but I'm working a game in
Wise choice.
in the state of Texas, and we drive, and so you land, you go to your game, you work your game, and in this game, I miss a foul. I miss the call, and I run down the court, and coach just lets me have it, and I kind of put my head down like a puppy dog, and my crew chief, Mark Merritt, comes in and hits him with the technical foul, and so I'm like, oh, as soon as he did that, I just knew, that was mine to give. Mm-hmm. I should have given it, mm-hmm. and I should have, and so after the game, you call Violet and you tell her, hey, we had a technical foul. It's always send me the clip. Send me the clip. All right. Mm-hmm. Send the clip before we leave the locker room, and we're on our 2-hour drive back to the airport, and I get a call, and it's Violet, and there's 2 calls that you get. You get a Boo call, or you get a Nathan call. And this is it. And let me tell you, Violet, there's only 3 people that call me Nathan. Well, my family and you. Everybody else is Nate. So I know when you call me Nathan, I'm in trouble. It's the same as my mom, right? And so get the call, and she wasn't mad that I missed the foul. She was mad that I allowed a coach to embarrass me like that.
Yep.
And that I didn't handle my business, and it was a very stern, and I mean, my tail was between my legs all the way to the airport. But first thing in the morning, I wake up and my phone rings again, and it's Violet, and it's, hey, Boo.
There you go.
And And so everything she just talked about is kind of um, that experience for her officials and what we go through game to game, season to season, because, yes, she's going to be hard, but it's out of love and it's out of, that family feeling. And so, yeah, that was I'll tell you what, the next season, I probably gave out, 6 or 7 technical fouls, and I was supported on every single one of them. There wasn't one that she said, you probably could have pulled back a little bit. But I wasn't going to allow that to happen again. So you learn from those things.
That's
Absolutely. And Violet, I just have to say, like, I'm sitting here and I hope that anybody who is listening to this has a notepad out, because your first answer alone, that was like a clinic. If they didn't already have a notepad out, I hope they've gotten one and they press rewind and they listen to this over and over again, because all of the things you're talking about with regard to mentorship, with regard to support, with regard to putting in the work, I mean, it's just stuff that it's it's gold. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. It is gold. And I hope that people who are either already officials or people who are considering it or people who are just learning about officiating really understand all of the stuff that you're talking about, because it's the foundation of so much of what we do as we progress into administrative roles, or
Mhm.
you think of a high school, because I always have to put things back in my terms in the high school setting. Even a high school official who just became a high school official, they've been doing middle school and now they've gone to that next level. So talking about putting in the work and having the support of their leaders and all of those things, it was just, I should have been taking notes, and I'm a little depressed that I wasn't, but I will go back and make sure that I have my notebook out later on. So thank you for all of that. Awesome answer. I can't wait to hear the rest.
Oh,
And
you're
Violet,
more than welcome.
you, yeah, you just, what kind of advice would you give somebody who's thinking about becoming an official? I know that we're about to talk about your new program that you're about to start, but
Mhm.
what advice do you have for some of these newer officials that are on the fence about, whether they
Yeah.
want to officiate or not?
Yeah. I love talking to people who are thinking about it, or they're like, I don't know if I could do it. It seems real tough. I'm not sure. And I go, you know what? How about this? You got to have a certain type of temperament, but you have to just love basketball. See, that's the start for me. I just loved basketball. And now once you told me that I could now be the guardian of the game. I call it in sense, you're that guardian. You're that person that's going to make sure that this game is ran the way it should be. I tell a young official that, you know what, you just have to have kind of a strong personality, but not arrogant strong, in which all of us are arrogant. Don't get me wrong, but you still want to come off as a human. You want to come off as personable. You want to come off as approachable. And I say to a lot of, and I have met a lot of different people in different professions who think about it. And I say, school teachers, law enforcement, they always tend, if you notice, Nate, we have a lot of teachers and referees that are in law enforcement that are referees, because we live by rules. You if you want to be a referee, you're a rule follower. And I say to people that that's number one. Number two, you have to have a very, very strong personality for yourself, because it's a negative profession in a sense of you can only be 50% right, 50% wrong when you're 100% right. Because half is going to like you, half's not going to like you. But how do you feel about you and you're just doing your job? Because you have to be able, and I say this to any first time referee that wants to come talk to me, I go, you have to be able to hold your own, trust that you are doing your job and that you're doing it to the best of your ability. But you have to be able to admit when you made a mistake. And that's very difficult for us, extremely difficult, because now we're vulnerable. And as a referee, you really don't, you don't want people to see that vulnerability. But what you have to understand is that when you're first starting out, it's kind of tough to do, and your experience helps you through being vulnerable, being able to admit that you know what? Maybe that wasn't a good decision. Maybe I missed that. Maybe that's why this coach is going ballistic on me because I just really missed it. Not trying to miss it, but I did. You know, and I tell you, young up and comings that you really, really have to study, you have to work. And what I mean by study is you got to get into the manual and learn where you're supposed to be, where your eyes are supposed to be, because the more comfortable you become on that floor is what's presented to the general public, to coaches, to players, to administrators, to everyone, because you have to learn how to sell yourself, even when you're wrong. You got to learn how to some way navigate through figuring out how to make people believe you. And for a young official or someone who has never done it, that could be a little intimidating. But I go, you know what? It's a certain type of demeanor, it's a certain type of personality, and I go, just and don't take this in the wrong way, but Nate, we're a little cuckoo because just think, we're in a field that's very, very negative, and we love it. It's okay. We have no issues with it. We know that we're going into the lion's den, and we can possibly this game could go really, really well. And I'll tell this to a young official, or it can go downhill real fast. How are you now going to navigate through it? Because you got to get through this hour and a half or this 2 hours with your partners. How are you going to do it to the best of your ability? And for a young official, that can be very intimidating. But I look at people who have strong personalities, who are, they're not afraid of hard work. They're an athlete. They understand the game. They carry themselves with a demeanor of confidence and being strong. Those are the things that I look at when I'm looking at a young official, and I even ask them the questions. Tell me a little bit about your personality. When a referee calls me and says, I think I want to try this, and I go, why? And then I give them all those different points, and they're like, oh my God, now I'm even more excited. I really want to do
Yeah.
it. So, I think it's a way in which how we recruit, you know, how we come at young athletes. But I think, and giving them another option, because most people, for all of us like myself, when I played, I really only thought that coaching was the avenue for me to go. And I just go, wait, no. There's another avenue you can take. You can still stay close to the game as a referee. And they're like, really? I go, yeah. And then when you get into what I just said to you, to the two of you, they go, oh, wow, I never thought about it like that, you know? But finding the our young athletes, our young players who have played. And it really doesn't, I'm not saying that they had to have played basketball. Doesn't matter. It could be baseball, it could be football, whatever it is, because you're an athlete. And athletes understand sports, period. And I think obviously, yes, if you've been a basketball player and now you want to get into officiating, I think that's phenomenal. But I don't think that it's set in stone that you can only go after or really try to recruit just basketball players. I think just sports in general, because we have common goals in sports of the way the games or should be ran, or how we carry ourselves. And I think for when you're discussing that with young people or anyone who's looking to get into our profession, those are the things that I kind of, make them go, make them think about it to see if possibly I can trigger something in them where they're like, I want to learn more. This seems exciting, trying to make it, yes, is it a negative profession? It could be, but in so many ways, it's so exciting. It's so rejuvenating. It's a feel good, and I know Nate knows what I'm saying, to really go out with your crew and have a phenomenal game and crush it, and go, oh my God, we just did our job to the best of our ability. Were we perfect? No, but we strive to be every single night. That's what we want to be. But I think, for myself, it's exciting to bring in young up and comings and to see the growth and the development. And I think that's really, really honestly what I love about being a supervisor is bringing in new talent, bringing in young referees. That's what I love about my referee school, basics, because I'm able to see, just referees develop and grow as the years progress and watching them develop, which is extremely exciting for me. No different than that's the way I feel about my staff, seeing, like someone like Nate, how he's developed and he's grown. He's now coming into his own, being a leader, and now, being a crew chief. Just watching all of those things, seeing a referee from the beginning of their career, all the, going through and developing and growing is just for me the icing on the cake. It's my icing on the cake, I should say.
And that development comes from strong leadership too, though. I think a lot of times, in local associations and local groups and small college groups, it's the expectation that you should just be good. And we're not, our leaders aren't always putting the work in. The expectation is for us to put the work in, but our leaders aren't putting the work in. And I can tell you that working for Violet, our leadership works for us. And so therefore we put that work in. I don't know if you know this, Violet. You're talking about multiple sports, going from one sport to the next. I was cut from my freshman basketball team. I was a 5'3", 105-pound guard.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know Nate was ever 5'3", but that's weird.
And so I get cut from my freshman team, and I was a pretty good football player. And I that summer I said, I'm quitting football. I'm going to quit football. I'm going to focus on basketball. Well, I got cut. And so I wasn't going to go back out for football. And the head coach at the time, he comes and he goes, "Hey, I'll see you at practice tomorrow." And I go, "Coach, I think I'm good." And I was crushed. And he goes, No, I heard that you got cut from the basketball team. Like, I'm not letting you not play something. So you're coming out. And, I started every year after that, and so, coming out, that's, but I want to stay involved in sports. And I think that anybody that's thinking about becoming an official, Violet said it perfectly. Like, if you're a volleyball player, you can still come out and officiate basketball, or if you're a basketball player, go officiate volleyball.
Absolutely. And for most of our officials, they do multiple sports. It's interesting. I have a lot of my basketball officials, they do volleyball. I have a lot of my basketball officials still, they do something in football. So I think for us, because we love sports. Yes, is basketball my favorite? Obviously, it's my favorite. But even now, for me, since I've retired, I'm learning so much more. I'm a season ticket holder for the Rams. So I'm really studying football. I'm like, okay, I want to learn the rules and what the flags and when you throw them. And because that's just what we do. It doesn't matter what sport it is. Once you become an official and you love the sport, you want to learn about it. You want to learn, how it works, what the rules, what's the penalties, and it's so exciting for me. I got referees now, they're doing replay for football. And I'm sure they're doing amazing jobs because we as referees pay attention to detail. And it doesn't matter what that detail is. You just have to give us the playbook. And then we're going to study it, we're going to learn it, and we're going to go out and do the best job we can. So, it's about just the love of officiating. And I think that's something that showing young up and coming officials that aspect, showing them that we support each other, showing them that we you have all these avenues of people that support you, that want you to be successful. And I think that's something that has changed, Nate, with our culture as well. And I think that's something that I'm very, very proud of, that, trying to teach my referees that you're not competing against, Nate's not competing against me, Dana. He's not competing against you. Nate is competing against Nate. And that's something I tell my referees, is that you're not competing against each other. We have to be supportive of each other. We have to be thankful when someone receives that playoff assignment, or someone goes from being, a U2 to now a crew chief, an R. That's How about be excited for that referee? Don't go like, well, you know what, it should have been me. I think I'm better than that person. How about this? How about you continue to work on you, and you're going to receive that opportunity? And just, it's a culture. And I think for me, that's something else that I'm really, really extremely proud of. you know, what I try to tell, all of our officials that are part of, and I call it VP12. We came up with this cute name to call what we do. And like my basic ref school, I have all these different little nicknames of, different organizations that I'm a part of, but all of those things mean something, because you're a part of a family. You're a part of having a group of people that support each other, that want each one of us to be successful at whatever level you are. And there's different levels for everybody, you know, but not being the crab in the basket where you're trying to drag people down that are doing well. No. How about be excited, be happy, because trust me, when you get to that level, you're going to want the same from someone else. So always think, but don't be selfish and feel like, it should have been me. How about keep working hard and know that, let your work speak for you, and you're going to receive your opportunity, and be ready for the opportunity when it presents itself. That's the key component, because most of us, we're so caught up in, whining about what we didn't get, or who was ahead of us, or how many games we got, and we missed the opportunity. And the opportunities are far and few in between, but you gotta, have an open mind and be prepared, and just keep preparing yourself, that when they present themselves, you're ready and up for the challenge. And I think that's something that, I try my best to instill in my group on both levels, whether it's my camp, or whether it's my VP Incorporated, my entire staff. They kind of go hand in hand, in just in that development, to help people grow to get to where they want to get to.
Man, I gotta say, Violet, you're talking about how you've grown to love football and you're learning football officiating. I could swear you would have signed up for volleyball. So last year, I got to see Violet speak at the Professional Association of Volleyball Officials conference. And first of all, everybody just fell in love with Violet, and they're like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. Because at the end of the day, we know Violet's a basketball official, but Violet knows officiating, and she's passionate about officiating. So the PAVO people, she has a whole new fan base. But watching Violet watch I believe it was the semifinal matches for the NCAA tournament, she was into it. She was like, I could do that. So I was pretty sure Violet was going to turn in her application to be a volleyball official, because she was feeling all of it. And it was so cool, because she's on it. I'm going to give her some flags. She can line judge. So I think that, Violet said something about family, and I think that there's something so transcendent among officials. It doesn't matter what sport. At the end of the day, this is officiating. At the end of the day, we're the only fans that each other has sometimes. And I think that hearing you talk about that, it just made me think about the whole PAVO thing, because, Violet and I were sitting together, and everybody's like wanting to come talk to her, but kind of also like, I don't know if she'll talk to me. And at one point at the semifinals, there was a man that was sitting in front of me, and turns around and he taps me on the leg, and he goes, why does she look familiar? And I go, oh, that's Violet Palmer. And he goes, why do I know that name? I go, first female NBA referee. And he's like, oh my God, what is she doing here? And I was like, watching volleyball, just real nonchalant. I didn't say like, hey, she's the keynote speaker at this volleyball convention. I was like, watching volleyball. That's all you need to know. And it's just so cool, because there's no borders, there's no lines between it. If you're a volleyball official or a wrestling official or a lacrosse official, it doesn't matter. We're all in this together. So when you were talking about the sports and trying to figure out, because none of us can actually watch a sport without going, ooh, the officials, like, oh, absolutely. Ice hockey, they're so agile. How do they not kill themselves jumping over a puck? Like, that's all we watch it for. Like, we don't know how to be just fans. So I was kind of laughing as you were talking because the PAVO thing just popped right into my head. I was like, oh, I gotta share that story. But
As well.
great answer as usual.
Yeah, you're dead on. What a great experience for me, because again, like you said, it doesn't matter what sport. We love them all. I love them all. And it's funny being there in that environment and watching, seeing the best of the best was exciting for me. And I was rooting. You see, again, you go. This is what I try to teach my staff. I was rooting for those volleyball. I wanted them because again, the better they are, the better we all are. See, that's what people don't, for our officials, you have to understand that it doesn't matter what sport. I want the officiating in whatever sport it is to do well because that helps all of us. That helps the game. It helps with recruiting, young officials to come in. So it's funny that you say that because that's really where we are. And you're right. It doesn't matter what sport. I don't care what, if I'm watching soccer, I'm watching the referee out there. It doesn't matter what sport. If it's baseball, I'm behind the plate, watching the mechanics, everything, because that's just who we are. But we're rooting for success. We're rooting for them to do well. And I think that's the environment of how we can recruit more young officials in all sports. And it's our duty for all of us to do it. And at whatever level, it doesn't matter, what level. I talk to coaches. I go, look, hey, coach, coaching is great. But if you change your mind, come on over to the dark side. I call it the dark side. I said, come on over to our side and just try it. You might
see. I call it the bright side. So
I like that too. I like the bright side. I do. But
correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Brenda a former coach?
yeah, she did. She did a little bit. I think she coached a little bit of Arizona, just like myself. I tried a little bit. I was a high school coach. I was a grad assistant at Cal Poly. And, I found out that coaching wasn't my thing. It gave me migraines. I was worried about my kids. I said, oh, no, no. I'm not going to put my livelihood in these kids' hands. Y'all can have that. I'll stick to the whistle and I'll go that route. I can do it. But again, it's just loving the sport, loving officiating, love talking the craft, love being around it, and I think what you guys do is great because this is what officials need to hear. They need to just, because we can say a couple of things or one thing that someone can gravitate to and go, that's it. That's why I want to try it. And we've accomplished our goal. That's it. So I commend you two for just creating this platforms for young athletes to hear it because you don't know how it can actually just help any official at any level.
We appreciate that. And that's our hope too, Violet.
Yeah.
And really, so your last several answers have kind of given a good segue for where I'm going to go next. So one of the most amazing parts of your career has been your role of Trailblazer. So we're talking a little bit about, your love for other sports and kind of how that transcends everything about officiating. But at this past year's NASO Summit, I was moderating a panel that was women in sports and women sports officiating in particular. And NFL official Sarah Thomas, of course, she was the first female official in the NFL, really gave you kudos. And it was a very special moment, I think, for everybody who was there because Sarah was like talking about role models and, the foundation of officiating. And she mentioned Violet. So here she is, a football official, brings up Violet, thanks you for your role. After the panel was over, we all took a picture together. It's one of my favorite pictures I think I've ever taken with any group of people. So I've got that in my possession. But I thank you, obviously, as a member of the NFHS Women in Sport Leadership Team for what you've done in officiating and sport overall. But we talk about becoming. So you've become this trailblazer, maybe unbeknownst to you. And at times you're probably just out doing your thing. But what does it really mean to you to have set the stage for women in officiating in all sports and all levels?
Wow. Now that's wow. How about first let me say that, you know, it's not something that I set out to do. I just it kind of fell upon me. Maybe it's just one of those things that just kind of happened. I literally and again being very blessed and fortunate to be the first at something is amazing. I want to say that first. But it's I never really thought about it until later in my career because I was so focused on just learning and growing and being good and working hard and wanting to be accepted, and though that was all my driven passion. Literally go unbeknownst to me, fast forward, being able to be the first and a barrier breaker and a pioneer. I had to sit back one time, after kind of years of being in officiating, going, wow, I never, ever, ever thought that that would even be possible. And it was. I'm like, and it's me, you know? Um, and, I think what Sarah said was that moment of realizing that, you know what, all my hard work and tenacity and just going out trying to just be the best I could be, I was able to not just be one and done because that wasn't my goal. My goal, I was happy. What Sarah made me feel like was I made it okay for a woman in any sport to go for it. So if I took all the hits and the knocks and everything so that any woman now can go in any male sport or any profession and have an opportunity, I am humbled by it. So, her saying that made me feel so good. And her, we just had a moment and actually became friends, which is
That's
so
awesome.
beautiful. It was very, very special for me personally. Dana, it even goes further because she literally called me pulled me to the side after we finished and said, "Hey, Violet, you know what? I would love for you at the go whistle, the dinner. Could you please sit at my table? I would be honored to have you just be with me." And I said, you got it. And so that it just goes to show that if you just work hard, set your goals for yourself, what can happen. And I'm so proud that I was the opportunity. And one thing I tell people, you can take a lot of things from me, but you can never ever take that title. And never ever was trying to win it, never ever, it's just one of those that I took the opportunity that was given to me. And I think that's something that I try to tell officials going forward, that it wasn't something that I was looking for, but am I very proud of it? Absolutely. Am I when I look at any sport, when I'm watching a football game, I was just watching a college game over the weekend, and I said to Chancey, Nate, I said, "Oh my God, look at the woman. She, I every time I see a ponytail, I just get excited." And she goes, "It doesn't matter what sport, you see a woman, you just jump for joy." I'm like, absolutely, because
Well, yeah.
what I've gone through has allowed women to have this opportunity. It brings me joy. So I take those kudos and I love it, and I just get excited, and it's just so nice that I have had something to do with making it normal for a woman
And
to be accepted and to be able to just do her job, because we're just very good at it. We should have those opportunities if you're qualified and you're good enough to do it. Period.
and
Dana, you
you haven't just done something, you've done a lot. And you know, a couple of things. First of all, I'm glad you didn't like coaching because that worked out really well for the officiating world. So yay for that. I'm glad you didn't want all of that stress of worrying about your kids and all of that stuff. But the other thing is, you were talking about the gold whistle banquet. And little known fact, or widely known fact, Violet Palmer herself was an NASO Gold Whistle recipient in 2023. And it was really cool because she got to receive that in her home state of California. It was in Riverside a couple of years ago, and her family was there, and it was a really special event. So that was another, receiving that high honor from the National Association of Sports Officials just is really a tribute to what you've contributed to officiating as a whole. And I know, I think when we talk, we understand the importance of females in officiating, but at the end of the day, we also understand it's also just officiating big picture. So what you've given to the whole industry overall is amazing. And it's just, it's so good when I see you get those recognitions, because you're well deserved. So congratulations again. I know it's a year past it, but I'll never stop congratulating you for it.
And I'll keep taking it because, again,
all right. I love it.
That was another one of, how you have those moments in your career and in your life that you never ever forget, and being honored by your peers is tremendous. It was probably one of the top of my list of honors. Something, again, that I never thought would ever happen, and here it is that, but and we don't set out, I don't think most people even set out to win awards and all that stuff. But when you just do the work and you become good at what you do, these are the things that can happen. And how about this? I will take it. I'll hold on to it and enjoy it and love to, and we'll talk about it and share it with anyone who wants to hear. So, Dana, you know what? I want to thank NASO for that award, as well as all the other ones that I've received, because it just really sets the stage and it shows the world and myself that you just do the work. Just be good at what you do. And this is, this, you will flourish. And for me, I think that's what has happened, and it's exciting. And I was so honored to be able to share that with my family, being in Riverside. But I can honestly say my family would probably travel wherever, because they just
absolutely.
wait for me to say, "Oh, I'm receiving something," and they're like, "Okay, where we're going? What's the date?"
Timbuktu, let's go.
They can care less, which goes to show you, having the support and family, and that's why it's so important to me. And and even looking at that, it's just exciting, and that was truly one of the greatest moments in my career, without a doubt.
That was a great night. Great night.
Yeah,
it was a good time. Like I had a couple glasses of wine that evening. It was a good one.
I was gonna say Nate was there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, shoot, I think half your staff was there. I think,
you know what? Yeah,
you had a good crowd.
We had.
I had a great crowd. Everybody says that. They go, "Oh my God, your people come out." But see, again, it goes to show that family, that support, and
it's real.
It really says something. It's real. And I think for me, that's something that why I really love what I do, because it's about people. It's about, coming together. It's about helping people just in their lives, not just officiating, just anything, that if I could be of service, I'm there, because we're all just trying to do the best we can, and be the best. And I think one thing about officiating, it just makes you want to work hard. It makes you want to be the best, because we have so many negative things coming at us that, we try to be the best and want to be right and want to get the plays right and want the games to go smooth and want our partners to look good. We have so many different things in there that we we want to accomplish, and it's challenging every single night. Doesn't matter. Every single night is different, and you have a different challenge that you have to overcome, but it's okay, because that's a part of the game that we're in and that we love. And it's so exciting. So I can talk about officiating all day. as you can see.
We
It's easy.
can too. Unfortunately, we don't have all that time. My gosh.
Yeah.
We'd love to just do this for like 12 hours, but I don't know if anybody else wants to listen to it for that long.
Yeah, we can get some people that'll listen, Dana. I'm
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
I think
We'll have
so.
Oh, yeah.
You said it earlier, we're cuckoo, so I get it.
Here we are, big time. Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to tee Nate up to ask this next question. So Nate, you were telling me recently about some stuff that Violet has brewing. What was that about? And can you set Violet up for that?
Oh yeah. So, last few months I've had the opportunity to work with Chansey on a few projects and some social media stuff and things. And she called me and was like, "Hey, the boss wants to start this," and I said, "Let's do it." And so, I'm working on the socials, but I'm gonna let Violet talk about what's up and coming. We know that she's the coordinator of officials. We know that, you know, uh, she has the opportunity to hire you at the Division 1 level, or the ability to hire you at the Division 1 level. She has the ability to develop you at the college level, but we're Violet's not going to stop just there. She's going to extend that just a little further, and I'm going to let her explain what she's doing with her new program.
Yeah, and I'll give a little backstory real quick. Um, Obviously, for me, I'm a sport person. I'm watching games everywhere, and I don't just watch college games. So obviously, my best friend works at a high school. So every now and then she'll call me and she'll say, "Hey, we're having a playoff game, or we're having a high school game, or I even go to football games, on Friday nights with her. I don't care because I'm a sport person. So as I'm watching these high school games, I'm so disappointed how these officials approach these games, and this is our level that should be the total opposite. They're overweight. They don't give these girls, and I'm watching girls basketball every now and then. I watch boys because I have nephews that are playing on the boys side. So I guess I can say it's really boys and girls and watching for high school officiating. And I'm so disappointed in the work. I'm disappointed in how they just carry themselves and that they act like they don't care. They're just out there collecting a check. So, just brainstorming and talking, and my basic ref school, because I'm on the college level, has kind of been like a focus of college, officials and training and developing. And I said, you know what? I need to do something a little different. I need to spend a little more time with that lower level. So we came up with basic referee school ground floor, meaning at the ground floor, trying to work your way up. And that's more so geared toward high school officials. But pretty much I'm using ground floor. It's fostering and developing the growth of basketball officials at every level through their journey. But our ground level sessions are designed to provide a solid foundation for those officials just starting out, as well as opportunities for seasoned officials to sharpen up their skills and reach a new level of excellence. Our mission is to empower the next generation of basketball officials by offering comprehensive, innovative training that blends fundamentals, knowledge with real world experiences. Whether you're new to officiating or you just want to enhance your expertise at whatever level you are, you can join. So, pretty much just trying to create a culture for even the high school officials. I'm actually now, Chansey and Terry, one of my other guys who work with me, they're going to all the high school associations, and they're going to set up where different associations in my local, the LA area, Inland, South Bay, Long Beach, Foothill Citrus, that they'll just give me 15 minutes. I want to talk to the group and just kind of give them this spiel and tell them when. I will have a camp, not an expensive fee for them to come, but just kind of showing them and showing them on my level, Nate, how basic referee school does it, but to really just help them to develop. because I don't think anyone has done it. I don't think there's enough camps out there for high school officials. Everyone's so focused in on the collegiate side, and we're kind of leaving that ground floor, that bottom level out. And we have to do something to just change that culture, because they just kind of just go out, make money, take their checks, don't care about the kids. And this at this level is where they need to pay more attention and be, in shape, want to run the game, want to give these young girls and young boys everything you have, because this is the start. So if we can change this culture a little bit, by the time they get to the collegiate level, mentally they already know what's expected. We don't have to reteach them that part. They have that part, that they have, a good feeling about what they're doing. And I don't think anyone's actually ever done it. So I think I just want to try to go into these high school associations and just tell them what I'm doing, try to recruit them to come out and understand that you have to train and develop. And it's more than just getting your certification. It's more than that. You actually have to do some extra. And I think that's what ground floor is really about. And I'm excited about it. Come October, the early part of October is when all the high school associations are starting to have their meetings. So I'll be a real busy bee, as well as trying to assign all my games. Like, I need to put something else on my plate. But I think it's important. I think it's been the years, and Chancey said it. She said, no, every time you come to a high school game, you're so frustrated. And I just didn't like what I was seeing. So when you don't like something, what do? You got to stop talking about it. You got to start doing something. So I thought this was a way in which I can try to change that culture a little bit, through the high school association.
And
Just try.
should not have to, you know, take
I don't
October
mind.
when she's assigning games. She doesn't mind it,
Nope.
but if everybody does a little bit of the takes a little bit of that load, then we're developing from the ground floor and working our way through.
It's important. We can't let that. I think for me, and I have been focused on the collegiate level. I'll admit that, because that's where that's what I'm in.
That's where you are. Absolutely.
But just I can't sit back and watch something and go, this is not good. This is not okay. We got to change a culture even on that level, where they start to work at it, where they care, where their physical fitness and how they carry themselves and how they present themselves on the floor, how they walk in. It's like there's a certain demeanor that we have to have. There's a certain professionalism, and they've lost it somewhere. And that's all I want to go into these high school associations and just share and just show them that, yeah, I care. I do. And they should care too. And hopefully, with just a little bit of work, that we can maybe change a small culture, and Nate, you know how we do. I'm starting in Southern California. You know what? I may end up having to take it to Northern. I may have to take it to New Mexico. Because again, every state has high school basketball. So this is not something that everyone can't try to do. Can we try to better our high school associations? Dana, you're on the national. You already know there is a need. People or referees at the high school level have to work just as hard as us on the collegiate level, because these are our ground floor. These are all of our athletes at the start of their careers. These are the officials at the start of their career. So if we can change that culture, look how much easier to make our job, Nate, when they get to the collegiate level, because they already have the commitment. They already have the professionalism. They already know how to carry themselves. So now it's just about getting your reps in, being that professional. It gets all of us talking, and that's a good thing. So if I can just generate some conversation of wanting to be better, wanting to be more of a professional, not just thinking that, oh, I'm just doing a high school game or like whatever. No, it's important, because those young student athletes deserve the best, just like on the collegiate level. And I think for me, just watching, I just watched it over the years, and I just kept saying, I got to do something. So you got to be a doer. You could talk, but you got to walk the walk as well. So I decided, you know what? I'm put my money where my mouth is, and I'm gonna get out there, and I'm gonna try to change the culture. Period.
And I love that. And we're talking a lot from the NFHS standpoint about how we can provide resources for our state and local associations in this area with regard to developing their officials, because we know some states have a really robust training system and they do a great job with their local associations, and some could use some help. And that's where we're trying to kind of come in as an NFHS to be that resource. But one of the things that you were talking about that really hit home with me was the professionalism aspect. And we're actually in the process right now of building out some videos or coursework. We're not sure what shape it's going to take yet, about that pride of being an official. And the fact that even though at the high school level it's an avocation, there's still an expectation of professionalism. You still need to be, there on time. If you're on time, you're late. There needs to be an expectation about how we look, how we comport ourselves when we're officiating. And we're trying to develop resources in that area so that our state high school associations have that to give to their local groups. Some states do it where all training is done with a local board. Some are a little more centralized. So trying to figure out from our desk what's the best mechanism for distribution so that we can make sure it's getting into the rank and file officials as well. So that's something that I'm working on, and I'm excited to hear about ground floor. And after your first run of it, I'd love to circle back with you and have a conversation about how it went and if there's ways that we can help from the NFHS standpoint. Because I think if it's good for one group of officials, it might darn well be good for many. So I'm excited. I appreciate your efforts and your walking the talk as you've done your entire career. So that's exciting stuff for sure. Thanks for sharing that with us, Violet.
You're welcome.
Hey, Violet. So a little off subject, non-officiating question. So all three of us do a fair amount of travel. Obviously in my career, I fly a lot, and then Dana, going from state to state, and going to games. And of course, what is your one pet peeve that you have when you fly? It can be with passengers, with crew, in the airport. We're starting that segment this week.
You know what I tell officials? One thing you have to do, because when you travel a lot, you got to have all the perks. I tell referees, I go, you got to find an airline. You got to be loyal to the airline. And it depends on where you live, because, obviously I live in Los Angeles, so I have a lot of choices. But there's some states that you may not have a lot. So, I tell people, whether you're Southwest, whether you're not, it doesn't matter. You got to find an airline that can get you where you need to go. And some referees can just, I fly any airline. I go, doesn't work for me. You want to get pre-check. You want to be able to get in quick. Yeah, and these are things that referees have to know. You want to have global entry. So if you're going out of the country, you can get back to the United States without having to stand in line. So all those things matter, because what makes it, when you have to do this consistently, week after week, day after day, you want things that can get you through quickly. If you have problems, obviously you have status, you have numbers that you can call where you can get through to solve your problem. So you have to learn how to travel. And I think for any referee, that's extremely, extremely important. So for me, those perks help make your life simple when it comes to travel, because travel is very hectic. It can be tough. It has a lot of different ramps to it, and it's not always. Some referees are about, give me the cheapest flight I can find to get me to A to B. And if that works for you, that's great. Not necessarily works for me, because I need that status to help me when I have issues. Because when you travel, Dana, we know you're going to have travel issues. You're going to have mechanicals. You're going to have, flight changes. You have all those things. And without having status and a perk with an airline, you're at the bottom. You're at the bottom of the pecking order. When you have status, you get to move up, and those things can help you get to where you need to get to, because that's what's most important. So I tell any referee, and this is literally what one of my mentors said to me when I first started. Carter Rankin, I'll never forget, he was my Pac 10 coordinator of officials. And he said to me when I first started, he said, find an airline and stick with them. And you know what? I can say to this day, I heard him 100%. I stuck with United. I am a 2 million mile, I'm almost 3 million miler.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yes, I mean, literally. And it's funny, you even flight attendants, because they have the flight log, and they'll come over and go, wow, Miss Palmer, thank you for being a 2 million, it means something. So again, that's just a little something that can help with travel, Nate. Whether I wish I want to be an A-lister on Southwest right now. It doesn't matter where you are, because important, because that helps you get from A to B. We got to get from A to B, however you got to get there. And your flight being canceled, that's not an excuse for you to not get to your destination.
Oh,
That don't
no.
work. So how are you going to get there? Again, if you have perks, which an airline can help you. If you have nothing, you're starting from the ground floor, and that's not where you want to be. So I think that's one, Nate, that you gotta, you gotta be loyal to an airline, and that airline to be loyal to you to get you from A to B. And it's different from every single referee, because some referees really don't care about that. But personally, for me, it helps me get where I need to get to. I've never been late for a game. I have never, knock on wood, I have never missed a game in my entire career being an official. And I'm not trying to start now. So again, that's extremely important, because for referees,
Absolutely.
you like you said, Dana, professionalism, being on time. If you're on time, you're late. Doesn't work for us. So with all the travel and everything that's going on, that's something that's extremely important for officials to think about when you're trying to get to the next level. Even on top of that, Nate, you have to have a job that provides you the flexibility, because the being a high school referee, your games are at a certain time frame. Once you move up at the collegiate level, whether you get Division 2, Division 1, you have to have that flexibility with a job to be able to travel, to be able to get off work. Not all of us can just referee for a living. For most of my referees, they still have full-time professional jobs. I have school teachers. I have law enforcement. I have firefighters. I have lawyers. Those are real jobs that people have to go to now, but you got to have that flexibility to be able to get off to go referee. So that's important. There's so many different avenues in officiating that for the common person, they have no idea that what you have to do. But with all that being said, you still you get that assignment, you got to be there on time and go do your job.
Yeah, I mean,
No
my
one cares
transition
about
into
all the other stuff.
They do
Yeah.
not. They just want you there.
my
You got to
transition
be
into
there
my new
when that schedule says you have a game. So, and Nate, it's great that you mentioned the travel part, because it is important and it's huge. And the higher you move up in levels, it's more valuable and more important, because your risk of missing a game is larger than that average referee, and we can't let that happen. You can't,
No, and that's
because you can't lose
it
that.
was when I started my new career, you know, coworkers were like, "Man, you're really good at figuring out the travel and where we got," and it's a lot harder from
Mhm.
November to March than it is when, crew scheduling's taking care of our schedule. I'm
Absolutely.
booking flight, hotel, rental car, coordinating with the crew. Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces I mean, November to March, yeah, I mean, the basketball game is actually the easiest part of
Absolutely.
officiating.
There you go.
Everything outside, managing schedules, and like right now, contracts are coming in and physical forms and
A lot.
everything's coming in all at once. And if you're not on top of things, you're going to drop the ball, and it's not going to be a boo call.
No, you're going to get caught.
That is not.
Not a blue call. And we've had, Dana, how about this? I've had some of the best officials in the country actually screw that up. Whether it was, you're in the NCAA, you got to go to the clinic. You got to watch your videos. You have to take the tests. And I've had a couple of referees. Now, mind you, got to do these things to be eligible to get into the tournament. You don't even know if you're going to get an assignment. But if you don't do this, you're not even eligible. And I've had referees miss a video, didn't take a test, didn't double check. Did they hit the button? Again, it's more to officiating than just blowing the whistle. And for me, it's important to have that guidance to help our referees navigate through those different avenues of helping them just get through all of that, because that can screw you up too. You can be ready for your opportunity, but you haven't handled your business. You wasn't a professional, and you get cut. You get cut, and somebody else receives the opportunity. What do you do? So there's a lot to it, and it's something that I try to explain to every single referee at every level because it's extremely important. It's so many avenues to what we do. People have the average person has no idea what really goes on. And so again, that's why I commend the two of you, because this is good for young referees to hear, because who knows, this may be the first time they've ever heard it, but it's something that they need to know because it can help them. It can eliminate them from having these problems once they get to the collegiate level. You want to learn this at the high school level. And I think that's another reason why, wanting to have basics referee school ground floor, because trying to teach referees these things from the beginning of their career. So by the time they get to the collegiate level, they have a good basic understandings of being a professional and how to carry yourself and how to communicate, because all of that plays a huge part in your development and how well you do.
Man, Violet, you're closing us out like a pro. So I'm so glad you talked about, we talk about educate, elevate, excite, and the education part. I loved what you were talking about with regard to all the other stuff, because I really do think that people have this misconception that officials just magically appear at their games. Yep. They don't understand the training that goes on, the fact that they have to take tests and go to clinics and go to classes and do all of this stuff at every level, high school, college, pro. They're all doing it. And people really do think like officials just get handed a whistle when they walk in the door. They're just three schmoes off the street who showed up for the basketball game. They don't understand what goes into that. And then as those levels elevate, the travel, all of the, the contracts that you all have to sign, all of that stuff is just crazy. So educating sports fans in general about what you all go through, it's not easy. It's not just you watched a game once and you thought you knew something and now you're working in the NBA. There's a lot more to it than that. And at the high school level as well, they're going through training, they're doing all of those things. So you really drove that home in your last answer about travel, because you took it into some other elements that people aren't always thinking about. And I appreciate that. So with that, we want to thank you, Violet Palmer, VP, Queen V, by all those names. You are the best, and we loved having you on. Thank you for joining us on the From A to Zebra podcast and for taking us through this process of becoming. We'll probably have you on again after you've done some ground floor stuff. So be prepared to meet up with us again. And Nate, any closing thoughts for Violet before we conclude?
Boss, thanks. And looking forward to seeing where ground floor goes. As Dana and I, our heart is always with high school associations and high school support. We advocate for that ground floor official. And so this is huge. And so we want to thank you for that. And thank you for your time.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you so much, Violet. We appreciate you.
Anytime, just so you guys know. Thank you so much. And I love what you're doing as well.
Thank you, Violet. All right. So on next week's show, we will be taking a look at the letter C, and we'll be talking about community And especially one group of officials that's making a difference in their community. We'll be visiting with members of the Sports Officials Care Board of Directors, and we'll have with us Billy Kennedy, NBA referee, Scott Twardowski, NBA referee, and Jennifer Skolochenko-Platt, who is an employee with both Umps Care and Sports Officials Care. And I'm proud to serve on that board with them. So we'll be able to talk a little bit about SOC and what we're up to in the community of sports officials.
Thank you for joining us on the From A to Zebra podcast. We'll see you again next week. Same time, same place.
Be sure to hit that like button, follow, subscribe, and also catch From A to Zebra on Instagram at from_A_2_zebra, Facebook From A to Zebra podcast, and on X at From A to Zebra.